Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Tomas Teskey. I'm here with Scout Murphy. She has Scouts Trails on Facebook, and I have Tomas Teskey Veterinary Insights. And we've been acquainted for a while and looking at their horses. And of course, I follow their amazing adventures all around America on all these trails that they go on with their horses that are kept quite naturally, which is impressive to me because as a veterinarian, after 30 years now, I really appreciate the more natural approach. And so my idea was to just have an interview between the two of us, not necessarily me interviewing her or her me, but back and forth. So no rehearsals, just off the cuff. We'll see how this goes. For example, when I think about Scout and her mom going around the country, it just impressed me that you live with your horses. I mean, they're never not there with you, and I think that's got to have a unique perspective. And so I wanted you to tell me a little bit about what that feels like, what that's like to actually have them with you all the time, living with them.
Never been asked that before.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'll start with is our horse has always lived in our backyard, but it's certainly it's a much different experience, feeling. Not really sure what the correct word would be. Other than them living in our backyard, to a lot of the time is they can come right up to our camper door, and we definitely feel more connected to them and more in tune with their emotions and their way of life, I guess.
Right. That connection part is what I was really highly curious about, because I write about that. I try to impress people about how we have this human horse or human dog and the earth too. We're connected to all of it, but with you living the dream, basically, I really appreciate that and getting to watch you make it real out there on the trail. So yeah, thank you for that. What about you? You have any curiosities about
Well, I guess first question would be, you said you've been a vet for 30 years now, but was there any specific instance or moment that made you want to do it?
to be a veterinarian? Interesting. I actually had it in my head to follow that course of study probably from around high school time. And I was such a geek in school, and tests were easy for me. Don't be jealous. It's just some people are good at taking tests, and I was one of them. And so you have good grades and you do well in school. And I was able to get into veterinary school without a lot of trouble, and follow that. And my dad is a veterinarian on the small animal side. So he does dogs and cats and exotic animals. And so when I got to veterinary school, I wanted to be a little different, and I said, I'm going to do big animals instead of little ones. So that's kind of how that rolled when I ended up being a veterinarian. I like it. That's nice to see. I was wondering, since you're this close to the horses all the time and that connected, what is your feedback or perspective on if horses like people? Do you think horses like humans?
I do. I do think they like humans. Maybe I think they definitely have opinions about different humans. I mean, I'll just use our four horses for example, or our two boys. Is they love to be around humans. They always love. I mean, you've seen both of them. They love to be right with you all the time. And I mean, there's certainly at times, our horses are very friendly, but there has been people who you can tell that they don't want to be around or they don't like, just because they get the sense and they'll just walk away or Just if those people try and come up to them, they won't do anything bad, but they'll just remove themselves from the situation. So I do think they like people, but I also think that they're intelligent enough to know when they don't like someone.
And just quick follow-up to that, is it really a curiosity on their part, or do you think they're doing it to get something, like get a treat or get scratched, or is there a reward in it, or are they just, do they have a curiosity about us? Do they like the way we smell, or what more is it that might be going through their heads and hearts about what are those creatures on two legs?
I think it could kind of be all or not all of it, depending on the horse. I mean, like I'll take my horse Coda for example, is she likes to be in your presence, but she never really, nor does she really want or ask for any type of like attention or food or treats or really anything really. I mean, there's certainly most of our three other horses, they do like, they're content with just being with you, not needing any type of reinforcement, I guess would be the right word.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction for people to try to feel into, simply because, you know, somebody might say, well, the horse only wants to be with you because you are giving it a treat or something. And so I'm glad to hear that you can feel that connection just because they are curious about us. So that's.
And I guess another example of it is my mom's horse Joker, is after she got in a riding accident and had to spend almost a week in the hospital, and he of course didn't see her at all, and then she spent another few weeks basically just living in the camper, and he only saw her if she occasionally came outside. Is when she was finally able to go do some work on my horse trailer with me, is he just came right over and stood with her for probably an hour, not asking for anything, just
Wow.
hanging out with her, and just because he missed her and wanted to be in her presence.
Almost like there might be a barometer inside him, like had to get his time in
Yeah.
with her or something interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you do the whole body, dental, hooves, chiropractic, all of it. Is there any certain modality of it that you find more interesting or more challenging?
Yeah. As I think about my own evolution through life and veterinary practice, I think I can most appreciate what it's like to help a horse immediately with a foot problem, a hoof problem. That being a real foundational, like literally down at the foundation of the horse next to the earth. Never underestimate how little changes there, or instead of a veterinarian saying, wow, that looks like there's a little bit of a flare or an imbalance or a separation, or that crack is not feeling too good, or this frog has an infection. Me, I'm like, immediately, I'm on it. I'm like, you mind if I take care of this real quick? And usually people are like, oh no, go ahead. My farrier can't come for next month anyway. And I'm like, oh my goodness, no, we don't want to wait a month. I got the tools right over here. Don't. And so I love fixing up these little things because it makes such a nice difference for the horses immediately. You can't say that about even a lot of medicines or surgeries or special chiropractic moves, but when you help a horse's foot with a better shape and a better function, wow, it's very cool. And then, of course, following right after that would be fixing their teeth, because that's also very rewarding. But I'm definitely a hoof geek at heart. One of the things that I think about a lot as I evolve in my practice is this big picture. I'm always looking at the big picture. A lot of us get obsessed over, oh, what kind of shots am I going to get my horse, or what's what's the best food, what's the best grain, what's like micromanaging little things. And so as I think about the big picture, that gets me into thinking about just the welfare. What's good wellness and what is good welfare for our animals. And I'll say our animals because I'm not going to leave all of our animals out of this equation when I ask you this. And here's the question, what do you feel would be most needed on our planet right now for us to make a bigger leap towards better animal welfare, better animal care, more heart, more empathy, more, you get what I'm saying? Because we've come a long way, but I'm looking for that big jump in animal consideration, welfare. What do we need? What do we need to do?
I think it's something you said is more empathy for your animals, all of your animals. I mean, well, I'll just use my own experience is now that I'm trying to find a place to keep my horses for going off to college this fall is something I've noticed is, which I kind of already knew, but most stables, people are really more catering to themselves or the owners than the horses. I think of a lot is, the horses are typically, kept in small pens. Maybe they occasionally get a turnout that is, weather permitting, which is for the people's, own benefit. Or, they only get this certain amount of food or this only certain type of food, we're not going to cater to the horse's needs. So I think, like we both said, was the biggest thing is empathy towards the animals. And really just to listen to them and their needs I think a lot of the time, if you really listen to them, is that they're pretty clearly telling.
Do you hear them in your head?
I wouldn't say in my head, but more just, my mare or Tuk really is very outward in what he wants and what his needs are. It's pretty clear what he wants if he's really trying to tell you something.
You have to be open to that, obviously.
Yes.
And so I think that's what you're saying is just that simple shift in, I would be interested in what that horse's opinion or that animal's opinion would be about whatever it is. So, cool. Hi.
I guess going off of how you talked about you have evolved in your practice, is there any ways that you want to or plan to evolve in the future?
It's been shifting more towards education. Certainly I stay in practice. We just worked on a couple horses for you, for example. But I work on a few hundred horses per year, not thousands like I used to. So I stay in practice, but I also feel this inner drive and importance and just really want to sink my teeth into how do I spread the word and what does it sound like? What does it look like? Who is my audience? Things I think about going to different places in the world to speak about what we're doing with the animals, how we are enjoying their health and not always battling against a problem that's having. It's like shifting towards enjoyment and celebration of that connection instead of, oh my God, I hope my horse isn't colicky today, or oh my God, what if he gets hurt? It's like that is less and less in my mind. And so I'm definitely about preventative medicine, but I want to educate as much as I can about, let's give them these 4 or 5 things that I know they want and need because they're a horse and watch them go, just like watch them thrive. And it's our responsibility. I mean, if not us, then who? We have them behind fences, behind barriers in our enclosures, and so 100% responsibility for us to get a hold of that information. And so I want to be a part of that. I want to spread the word as much as I can. As I think about what you're doing out there and heading off to school, and I immediately tried to imagine what it would be. What would Scout want to study? And I'm like, I'm not sure. She's got this interest, and she knows technology, she knows Facebook, she knows webinars, and so that's a real curiosity. What's going to happen with your studies, or do you know?
Well, I do plan to major in communications, which I chose that because I think it's a pretty broad spectrum. I can do a lot with it, whatever I choose. But I'm also minoring in environmental design, which is, I think more of it would, like what it was originally was, like designing parks, urban planning, that type of thing. But I believe that I could use it to try and create paddock paradises, which is something that we are already creating on our property down here in Arizona, that just again to better the horse's happiness and welfare.
Great. That's much needed.
Yes.
Very
Yes, it
highly
is.
relevant.
You talked about how you've taught in all different countries. Which one do you think most aligns with our beliefs with horses?
Ooh. Wow. So wherever I go in the world, there's people that love their horses. And as I dig down a little bit deeper with them, I can be a little bit annoying sometimes. I'm like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean you love your horse? Tell me more about that. And at that moment, when they start to describe what they get to do with their horse, or what their horse does for them, and how that slant goes. So what impresses me is when somebody can talk about a love for their animals or their horses for their own nature, their own abilities, and then they get to enjoy that as a human next to them. Versus I have a collection of these little Hot Wheel cars that I love, but they're inanimate. But boy, they're so cool. They got the paint on them, and they got this, and I just love collecting them. But if you have that sort of insight or perspective on keeping animals or horses, then it becomes too slanted, too much pressure on the animal to meet an expectation. So there's this difference that's not so subtle, I hope, when I ask people to just consider what the animal themselves is bringing to that equation. And the places that I've seen that the most, not so much one country or one part of the world, but I am based here in Western America. And so I would say that in some of these rural areas where people are not so much on Facebook, not so much on social media, but they are a little bit like you. They're always covered up with animal hair. They're always feeding, maintaining, and they have some of the best insight into what that feels like. And so in some of these more rural areas, I would say not covered up by too much urbanization. You get too many streetlights around you, or too many honking cars or sirens, this sort of thing. It can be a little bit distracting for everybody. So that's where I've run into the best examples, is in some of these rural places where you can feel the cowboy atmosphere, but it's not bossy. because I know what it's like to be a bossy cowboy since I kind of grew up from that. This ranch that we're on right now, 150 years of cowboys in the Old West. And so I know what that feels like. But when I go to these places, it feels like they're learning from traditions, and it's better applied. It's an appreciation for what's possible, but we're going to come at it by more respect, more inclusion of, more invitation. That's what it is. More invitation. It's like I go out to my horse, or I go out and I watch these guys or gals walking up to their horses, and they're like, "Anybody want to go help me move the cows?" And the horses are like, "Oh, I think not." Or that one horse over there is like, ear perks up, and they're like, "Oh, Sally, you? Oh yeah, you're really good at it, huh?" Yeah. She comes walking up. I mean, having this conversation is like blowing me away. And they're not afraid to talk like that. They talk to their animals. So more rural atmospheres that seem to be conducive for that. So, yeah. But I run into that all over the world, thankfully. I do like the Western America for habitat, although I really like how horses fit in our environment in the West versus where it's too wet or too green. But that's a tangent that I could get off on. I'm still curious about how we're evolving with our relationships with animals, and what that looks like, what that feels like. For example, there's examples where, for example, dog racing is getting less and less common because the welfare of those greyhound dogs was just so poor. They were so put upon, so just like factory animals, just so mistreated and not managed in a friendly way. Horses, you could argue, have come from, I mean, they moved America, right? They were the motor of the day. And now they're still the same animal. There's still all the horsepower, all of the strength, the training could still be there without a problem. And what I'm wondering is this evolving welfare. Where do you see, what does that look like? Instead of this looking at a horse as a tractor, or looking at a horse as, oh, that's my ride for the show coming up, or that's how I get from, basically what it is, Scout, is a horse can be a tool for somebody's ego to feel like, oh, I have a horse. And what I'm wondering is how do you see that evolving? Where are we going with this overall relationship? What do you think might happen with, I'll leave it open-ended, what you think might happen with how we are able to have these animals around? And it's kind of a welfare question again. Instead of what they used to be like tractors, what do you think they're becoming, or what do you think they're going to be? What's that going to look like?
I'm going to be completely honest and say I'm not really sure. I mean, I feel like just looking at, the people who, for example, comment on my page, or the people I just see on social media, because I don't really interact with many horse people just because we're not really around a lot of them, is I think there's a lot of people who are going more in the direction of trying to not really use them as a tool, but more of a friend, and care, again, more about the animal's happiness. But I think there is still also a lot of people who are only using them as a tool, not necessarily like working, but more like a show horse as a tool for their ego, I suppose you would call it.
Right.
So I think it's, to me, maybe more unknown, but I think maybe there is more people now, I would assume, going in more of the direction is just wanting them to be happy rather than aiding humans.
Right. Yeah, so many of those things are not bad, but if it's just the only thing that they're used for, then we're really missing out. I mean, it's such a kind of tragic, really, when you and I appreciate what is really inside and what the nature of the beast, the nature of these animals is so incredible. Yeah, I dream at night sometimes about how that's going to evolve and what our relationship's going to be like. So.
Or just another thing that you could say is that more people, I believe, should be partners with their horses or even all their animals. And I'd like to think that, I don't know if educating is the right word, but with my page is bring awareness how we're partners with our horses. I mean, one example I could use is when we're riding up a steep hill is all of our horses, but especially my mom's horse Joker, is he'll stop and he'll look back at her and say, clearly say, I'm ready for you to get off and I need a little bit of a break. But then she will get off and he'll lift his tail to help tow her up the hill. And I have had
she's hanging onto his tail.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean all of our horses do it. I mean, I've even taught Tuk how to do it now too.
That's cool.
And we've even had people, message us and say, I've left this group or I've stopped being with these people because I didn't like how they treated their horses, how they were acting, and I didn't want to be around people like that. So right. I think being a partner, being their friend, all that can be, should be, is, where it's going.
I think that's a really good word to use, is the partnership, the two-way. Mm-hmm. What are we doing here? We. Yes. Not just all about me, but what are we doing here? That's great.
Do the whole body, like I said before, dental, hooves, everything. Is there any modality that you want to learn or learning?
There's a medical practice that is at least 5,000 years old that I wish I would have been exposed to more in Western veterinary medical training, but of course that's not how that rolls. But it's Chinese traditional medicine, which, as you may be aware, follows think of them as electrical circuits around the body, where nerves and fascia and trigger points and acupressure points, acupuncture points. Wow, what a cool thing. And so I've learned several points, and I have already applied it to making my life easier, the horse's life easier. And I'm highly impressed. And I'm like, I want to know more about that. And so first I had to get over my little bit of resentment for, why didn't you teach me about this in school? It's like, no, it's okay. Always something new to learn. And so not a very cowboy thing, but I definitely want to learn more about Chinese traditional medicine and acupuncture type things and herbs. There's a lot of herbal remedies in Chinese medicine as well that are powerful. And that reminds me to say, for me, it's about healing for real. I don't like these cover-ups. I just be straight with you. I do not like a cover-up. I don't like when you just gloss it over and say, okay, you're good to go for the show this weekend, or you'll get one more season out. It's like, where's that big picture again? And is there some way we can really heal for real? And and we go right back to what they need foundationally instead of the Band-Aid. So. I'm curious about, as you think about when you were this big probably, and you were growing up with these horses, and these, if you were to make a memory come back to you in this moment about when you felt especially close or especially connected really with your horse, is it a certain place or a certain horse or a certain thing that happened or a certain time in your life when you're like, that really just impressed you and just made you a horse girl for life? what was that?
I can't really think of a specific moment that made me a horse girl for life. I think it's kind of just always been there. It was never really a certain moment. Well, I think about my first ever pony, Tonto, who I got when I was 3 weeks old. And she lived until I was about 10 years old, not long, and not, I think, only a couple months before we left to start traveling. And she was, I mean, the pony that really taught me everything. I mean,
That's true. Tonto did that.
She was really just the pony that you could do everything on. I mean, I have a lot of memories of just being able to, I know I've said this over and over again, but be able to do anything with her. I mean, she really would take me anywhere. I'd shoot bow and arrows off of her. I'd take her. She'd go through anything with me. I could take her out by herself on my own rides. And I mean, after I had a pretty bad riding accident on one of our horses who has since passed away, she was the first horse that I was able to ride. And she, even though she was pretty old at that point and kind of in her retirement, she was able to come out of it and was really there for me for my first few rides after a really traumatic riding accident. And I really think about her a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What a gift in hindsight that horse was able to show up and hold that space for you during that time. That's life-changing.
Yeah,
Cool.
She was a really, really amazing horse. Yes.
Tonto lives on.
She does. Yes, she does. She certainly lives on. And she was one of the greatest ponies. We lived near this little neighborhood that we weren't really in, but we could ride through our woods to get to them. Thank you, Zorro. That's very nice of you to step on me.
Yeah, it's snack time.
And she, every year every Halloween until she passed away, I'd take her trick-or-treating with me. And she figured it out that she had to walk up the steps to every house, and she'd put her face right in the candy bowl. And it got to the point after a few years that people expected her to come, so they'd save apples and carrots for her so she could get some treats too. And she loved it. I mean, she went every year. She was excited to go.
Yeah.
She was
Getting her sugar.
Oh,
She said,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, she was very happy to go.
That's very cool.
And she was certainly, she taught a lot of my friends how to ride and how to be, she was, a very little pony. She was big for me at the time, but she was probably not over 14 hands. She was, or 13 hands. She was very tiny, but she was a good little lady.
Yeah, thank you for telling me about Tonto. That's cool.
We of course found you and came to you because we wanted a full body dental. for our horses, and I think that's probably not super common for everyone to try and find. But I guess I'd let you talk about how you think working on dental helps with the whole body, and how you believe hand tools are better than power tools.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's an evolution with that. When I started out of veterinary school, it was only 5 years or so. I got really interested in the feet, and then since veterinarians were expected to work on teeth and come float my horse's teeth, so I learned about floating horses' teeth. Actually, I went back and did some extra classes to learn about that because we didn't get that too much in veterinary school. And so, and that and actual practice and doing that. And I wrote about this in the book that I wrote, and there's this moment that sticks out in my head, and I can still feel it and smell it and experience it when I think about how one day when I was working on these horses, and I was trimming and doing their teeth. And I'm making my notes. And I'm like, okay, this mare, okay, and this, and I'm writing down what I fixed with their feet or their heel height or their balance, and then their teeth next. I always did the feet first. And something just leaped out of the page at me like, what is that? Is that a coincidence that every horse this day was like 10 or 11 horses? Was it a coincidence that every horse that day had a pattern of being mismatched in their front feet and their mouth being crooked? And I'm like, oh, now I'm like revved up. I'm getting all geeked out on it, and the owner's like thinking I'm having a little episode or something. I'm like, wait, look at this. I'm pulling out pictures, and I'm look at this. This is not a coincidence. And so then I started keeping track of it on Excel. And I have a spreadsheet and I can pull out all these variables. I mean, you want to geek out on the connection, the whole body connections between teeth and feet and posture, and how horses travel, which way they like to turn. Geldings, mares, their age, their breed, stuff like this. Wow. I mean, it is more than just a suggestion. It is serious patterns of compensation and correlation and consequence. So things have consequences, and we can stay out of the vicious cycle of going downhill with something that's off balance. Because once a foot or a mouth starts to get imbalanced, unless we, as their caretakers, can intervene, because we put them in their artificial environment, they can't do it all themselves. We got to help them out with trimming their feet and fixing their teeth up, because they're not moving 30 miles a day and eating sagebrush and all that good stuff. So, okay, here's how we do it. Here's how we can intervene. And so, see how I get a little animated when I talk about this? It's like, yeah, that's the cool stuff. And I want to teach that, and I want to show people what that is. So, as you know, I have a book on the subject, and still got some copies of that around somewhere. But yeah, whole spreadsheets worth of data on these associations. And so, did I answer the question?
I think you did, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So I get one more for you?
If you want. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and as I was going through my practice and figuring this out, I noticed that working with the hand tools was working much better for me. I have decent strength and technique, and I keep my tools sharp. And these blades that we use on these hand tools are extremely sharp. I can actually take a long tooth down about as fast as a power tool. There's some muscle behind it, right? Mm-hmm. But I also like the end result, because when you look at horses' teeth as an arcade in there, the prettiest teeth look like one big tooth sitting in there, all connected and tight, and it's just like a sculpted mass of tooth arcade, top and bottom. And when you go over them with these specially made hand tools, the end result looks cleaner, more natural, less choppy. The problem with power tools is they go in and they bounce, and they'll leave little dings and little imperfections. Whereas with smooth action and controlled action over exactly where I want, I leave a nicer, more natural arcade in there, and much less likely to overdo it too. I see so many scary situations of taking too much tooth mass out of the horse with a power tool. It's like, give a girl or a guy a power tool and they're like, yeah, let me I'll make it perfect and I'll make it nice. It's like, easy, back off, maintain, push it in a good direction, look at it again in 6 to 12 months, push it in a good direction. So there's that kind of that philosophy behind it's not making a perfect weld. It's not making that corner of that furniture be perfect. It's a natural system. It's a biomechanical thing that you want to respect, and so that's my slant on how it works and ends up working better for the horse. Horses like it way better too.
Yeah.
Less drugs, less sedation, better relationship. I can end up working on many horses without drugs if I just back and forth with the tool. But when you've got that buzzing tool in their mouth and that tooth dust billowing out of their mouth, and you're having to wear a respirator, and they don't give the horse the respirator. I mean, how come the horses doesn't get a respirator too? So anyway, I like it better, and it's working great, and some things to keep track of. And I would say once in a while, if I had a power tool, I might be like, this tooth here really is like this much too long, and I need to really take that down. But I would be super careful with not overheating and water cooled and this sort of thing. But it's really, really, really rare. So there are exceptions, but keep in mind that whoever's the operator with these tools has to be super careful, and the chances for overdoing it with a power tool, I think you can appreciate how you just get a little bit too zealous, too much. So that's my take on that. One more, watch out.
Both came up with a lot. Well, I guess it's kind of a double question, is what still surprises you about horse owners, and what's something that's not common knowledge but you think should be among horse owners?
What surprises horse owners? Oh, once in a while I love to show people something on their horse that they didn't realize was there. And at first they're like embarrassed. At first, like, oh my God, I never noticed that. It's like, no problem. You're not usually looking at that, but yeah, look at this. Or sometimes they're just like, oh, I kind of see, and then I have to get the tape measure out, or I have to get something out to actually measure for them, or show them the angle, or the width, or feel this, and have them put their hand inside the horse's mouth, which they're like, oh, no, it's okay, I'm watching. It's like, go ahead. I'm like, whoa. It's like, yeah, very cool. I think what is infectious about that, and what you would ask me about, what I want people to come to know, is that they've got a horse. Did you know you've got a horse here? Let me tell you about this. Here's what a horse is capable of, because I know you've done these amazing things, but you're gonna love this. You pay attention to this. Look at this getting better here. Look at this getting better in their mouth. When we reach to this point, you're gonna love this, because I know I've seen it before. And sure enough, next time I see them or they message me back and they're like, "You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "Oh, I would believe it." Because I see it. It's like, yeah. So we took care of this. We took care of this. And you're on the team. So thank you for being on the team to do that, to make that possible. You made the call. You're paying the bill. You're watching things move in a good direction. So that feels so good to help people along in that way. And if I did my job right, I should be out of a job. I mean, really, if I convinced people to keep their horses the way I would love horses to be kept, they'd be self-trimming. They, like looking at your horse's feet, I mean, very little. A little rasp here, a little rasp, hardly anything, because it's so much movement and good ground, for example. So now the trimmer is out of a job. But hey, let's come over and have lunch, or let's have a drink, or let's, we can do other things together besides just getting together to trim horses, or go for a ride, or just get together and have fun. So that would be the most rewarding and the coolest thing to help people with is, did you know you have a horse? Like, look at this. This is cool. So, yeah. Thank you for that back and forth. Usually it's only people asking me questions, so I wanted to ask you some too. And thank you for doing what you do out there.
Thank you. And same to you.
Yeah, we're leading by example, I feel. And yeah, team approach. Awesome.
Sus. Hard sus. I'm sorry, ma'am. Hey, don't come sniff the truck.